The legend of the Kusanagi was written in blood and fire, but for Kyo and Shingo, it began in the simple, dusty courtyard of the Kusanagi estate in Kyoto. Growing up, Kyo Kusanagi was a prince of the sun, who didn't want a crown. He was a young man of natural, effortless cool, his athletic build already beginning to fill out his black motorcycle jacket. Even as a teenager, he possessed those steady, piercing brown eyes and the signature curtain haircut, the bangs framing his face like the dark wings of a hawk. He was born with the cleansing flames in his veins. To him, fire was as natural as breathing. He would sit on the porch, his white headband resting on his knee, casually flicking small, bright orange embers from his black fingerless gloves to light the evening lanterns. Shingo Yabuki, by contrast, was a boy of pure, unadulterated friction. He had no ancient lineage, no divine right to the hearth. He was just a kid with an unstyled crop of hair, its messy bangs constantly plastered to his forehead by sweat. He wore a thick white headband as a symbol of his devotion, a visual echo of his idol. He had spent his youth chasing Kyo's shadow, wearing out white sneakers and scuffing the knees of his blue tracksuit as he tried to mimic Kyo's movements. "Kaya-san, did you see that one?" Shingo would shout, his voice cracking with exertion. He would throw a punch, his black fighting gloves the ones Kyo had gifted him, complete with the gold sun crests swinging through the air. There would be no roar of fire, only the whistling of wind and the frantic scratching of Shingo's pen as he recorded his observations in a tattered notebook. Kyo would watch him from under his dark bangs, a mix of annoyance and quiet respect in his eyes. "You're putting too much weight on your heels, Shingo, and quit trying to make the fire happen. If it's not there, it's not there. It'll be there." Shingo would insist, grinning through the exhaustion. "I've just got to practice harder than the sun." The transition from childhood rivalry to a battle for survival happened on the eve of the Orochi's stirring. The air in Kyoto turned heavy, smelling of ozone and rotting earth. The dark forces of Orochi the Hakushu had sent their shadows to snuff out the Kusanagi light before it could reach its full zenith. One night, the estate was swarmed. The shadows were not physical beings but oily, shifting voids that drained the color from the world. They tore through the paper sliding doors, their eyes glowing with a sickly violet light. Kyo stood in the center of the courtyard, the Kusanagi crest on the back of his jacket glowing with a fierce inner heat. He was a visual storm of power. As he struck, cleansing flames erupted in violent, beautiful arcs, incinerating the shadows where they stood. His movements were a dance of destruction, his black leather jacket reflecting the orange inferno he commanded. But the shadows were endless, rising from the cracks in the pavement, cold and relentless. Suddenly, a shadow lunged from Kyo's blind spot. Its claws elongated into jagged blades of darkness. Crack. It wasn't fire that hit the shadow, but the blunt force of Shingo's fist. Shingo had dived into the fray, his blue tracksuit a blur of movement. He didn't have a divine flame, but he had 10,000 hours of failure turned into a single moment of success. His black gloves slammed into the shadow's face. "Get away from my master," Shingo roared. Kyo spun, his own flames billowing out like a cape. He saw Shingo standing there, his messy hair wild, his face bruised but his stance unwavering. For the first time, the plain student didn't look plain at all. He looked like a shield. "Shingo, get out of here. These aren't just thugs," Kyo shouted, his brown eyes wide. "I know what they are," Shingo yelled back, his sneakers skidding on the stone as he dodged a dark strike. "They're the things that are trying to put out your fire, and I won't let them." In that moment, the two of them moved in a way they never had during practice. They became a binary star. Kyo provided the heat and the devastating power, his orange flames lighting the path. Shingo provided the unpredictable kinetic energy, his physical strikes catching the enemies off guard. As a massive, towering Oroka spawn rose from the earth, Kyo gathered a massive sphere of fire between his palms. Shingo didn't hesitate. He charged the beast head-on, a suicide move that distracted the creature. As the beast swung at Shingo, he slid between its legs, his white sneakers sparking against the ground. This opened the beast's chest. Kyo unleashed the Ura 108, Shiki or Orchinaji. The wave of cleansing fire was so intense it bleached the world white. The shadows didn't just burn, they evaporated. When the light faded, the courtyard was silent. The violet sky had retreated, replaced by the first gray light of a true dawn. Kyo stood panting, his jacket scorched, his curtained hair messy. He looked at Shingo, who was sprawled on the ground, his tracksuit torn and his headband missing, but his hand still clutching his notebook. Kyo walked over and reached out a hand. Shingo looked up, blinking. "You know," Kyo said, his voice quiet as he pulled Shingo to his feet. "You still didn't make any fire." Shingo looked down at his gloves, disappointed for a fleeting second, until he felt the warmth of Kyo's hand on his shoulder. "But," Kyo continued, a rare, genuine smile breaking across his face, "You're the only person I know who can fight the end of the world with nothing but a tracksuit and a bad haircut. Come on, we need to train. The real fight is just starting." Shingo beamed, adjusting his messy bangs. "Yes, Kyo-san, I'll get the fire next time. I saw exactly how you turned your wrist." And as the sun rose over Kyoto, the two of them, the fire and the friction, walked back toward the dojo, ready to face whatever darkness the Orochi had left in store.